Hey guys, I'm Talola, and welcome to episode 3 of my Zero to Hero challenge. And on this episode we get quite a lot of keys done, which gets us closer to that 2500 score. And we also have a weekly vault to open. I hope you enjoy episode 3, let's get into the video.
And now you learn
The first key of the video is a +2 stone vault. I always get a bit anxious whenever the timer counts down, because we never know what's going to happen on the first pull. And still being new to tanking, I still doubt my tanking capabilities. I still have so much to learn. With all that said though, I am really enjoying Brewmaster Monk. If any of you who are watching play Brewmaster or even tank, just let me know how I'm getting on, if there's anything I need to improve on. Like the last stone vault, I'm only pulling 2 packs. I don't want to pull to the end of the corridor because I still doubt that I can tank the full corridor. Also the healer has quite a low item level as well, and I don't really fancy putting any unnecessary stress on the healer and the group. What's really nice is doing these low keys again. I've come across with a lot of people which are still quite new to the game. It's actually quite nice helping them, trying to teach them tactics. Whether or not they want to listen to them is another story, although sometimes they may be right not to listen to me because I'm not the best at Mythic Plus sometimes. And to be fair, there's nothing more embarrassing than trying to tell someone the tactics and then you go and mess it up yourself. Time for a quick rundown for the boss. The boss will place swirlies below a few players. Move out of the swirlies. The swirlies will spawn pillars of rocks. Do not enter the circle of the rocks. The boss will then point a red arrow at every player. The players must align the arrows towards the rocks to destroy them. If there are any rocks remaining after this phase, the boss will break the rocks, causing AoE damage to the group. For the tanks, the boss will cast Seismic Slam, which is a tank buster ability. That's the first boss down. It went actually really smooth. Getting quite close to the point now where our last group, the healer, disconnected. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Like I said earlier, I've actually really been enjoying tanking. I don't know why it's taken me so long to pick it up. I think it might most likely be the fear of the group relying on you so much, because you're the one who's in charge of the pace of the dungeon, how much you pull, what you pull. And the majority of the time a lot of people do blame tanks for the group's failures, and unfortunately if you've been playing the game for a while you'll realise that a lot of the Mythic Plus player base can be quite toxic. They'll point the finger at other people than themselves. If you are one of the new players to the game and you do happen to make some mistakes, it's fine, everyone makes mistakes. Even the people pointing the finger at you, they make mistakes too. Just try and ignore the comments, carry on, and just try and get as much learning as you can. So we got to this part of the dungeon, and I don't know what was going through my head at this point. For some reason I thought I was playing a dwarf, because quite a lot of my characters are dwarf. And I try and head to the anvil on the top right hand corner of the map, which gives you a buff. Off the top of my head I can't remember what the buff does, but I know it gives you some extra numbers, and everyone knows extra numbers means good. And at this point I was like, oh yeah, I'm not a dwarf. And this pull just goes absolutely terrible. We pull this pack was hard enough. And guess what, we pull the patrol as well. Yeah, I really don't know what was going through my head at that point. After acknowledging my mistake, thankfully no one said anything. So I started going back, and guess what? I didn't realise the druid was still alive, and he pulled the entire pack back to us, causing us to die again. Now that they've reset, hopefully I can pull them properly this time. And I won't try and get the anvil again, because quite clearly I am not a dwarf. Yeah, now we're here for the first time. We're going to take the first 2 loaders in the middle, while trying to avoid the balls they throw out. I'm still shocked no one said anything about that pull earlier. Now that the 2 loaders are dead in the middle, go for the pack on the left. Try and interrupt as many spellcasts as you can, but we're obviously not doing very well at that. I've missed quite a few myself. I still can't get over how much I'm enjoying tanking. It's really fun.
I am out of range.
A quick roundup for the second boss. This is a cleave boss where you have to fight 2 bosses at the same time. The loader boss will randomly shoot out red orbs. Avoid them because they do a lot of dot damage. The dwarf boss will cast molten metal. That will have to be interrupted every single time. The first phase, the dwarf boss will jump away and cause a metal cube to go from one side of the room to the other, so don't stand in the middle. The dwarf boss will also start casting molten metal at range. That also has to be interrupted. During the second phase, the dwarf boss will start casting exhaust vent, where 3 out of the 4 vents will start burning. You will want to stand on the vent which is not currently on fire. The loader boss will then drag the cube into the middle of the room and blow it up. This will be a good time to use some defences if you have any. If you are standing on the vent which isn't on fire, when the cube explodes you'll avoid taking a lot of damage. You have to try and kill both bosses at the same time. If one boss dies before the other, the boss that is still alive will start doing a massive AoE damage to the group. And just rinse and repeat until the boss is dead. Now that's the second boss down. Unfortunately the warlock died due to the boss's fireball frontal. As we leave the boss room I pull the pack on the right as I believe we need it for percentage. And then hopefully it's just a straight run to the third boss and the last boss without killing any extra ads. Other than the ads in our way. So I've got a question for you guys. What class and spec has been your favourite so far, and what content do you do? My current main is a Beastmaster Hunter, although after this challenge the Monk might become my new main because I'm really enjoying it. And the content I do is mainly Mythic Plus. I try to pug some raids here and there. I'm in a guild but I can't raid with them due to time commitments. And I can't PvP to save my life. I have never really done much PvP apart from a battleground here and there. Right, the tactics for the third boss. The boss will spawn 3 shards randomly around the room. All 3 shards have to be destroyed. Try and leave a few seconds in between killing each shard, because when a shard dies it does AoE damage to the group. It also applies a debuff. If the shards are not killed before the boss casts Fortified Shell, the boss will gain a massive absorbed shield. Though if you kill all the shards, the boss will still get a small shield. The boss will also spawn black orbs randomly throughout the room. You will want to pick up some of those orbs just before the boss casts his absorb, as you'll do more damage to his shield. That's the third boss down. So far we're making good time to time this key. These are the last boss tactics to keep an eye out for. The boss will put a debuff on you which has to be dispelled by one of those black voids at the edge of the room. This debuff does dot damage to you over time. The boss will also put a circle around you. Try and run to the edge of the room to place it so you don't have to run through it in the middle of the boss fight. The boss will also do a big frontal which is the shape of a pizza slice and it's purple. Obviously run out of the pizza slice. And yet again, rinse and repeat and the boss will be dead. That's the third boss dead, and we have timed another key, giving us 169 rating. We didn't get any loot, but it's not the end of the world. At least we timed the key and it wasn't as bad as the last Arakara we just did. The next key is a +2 Arakara, and we all know how the last Arakara went, right? Hopefully this one goes a lot better, although it can't get any worse than the last one. You may have noticed we're already part of the way in. I may have forgot to hit record, but unfortunately there's nothing we can do. We'll have to just start off from here. We start off with a big pool. Well, for my standards it's big anyway. And I'm starting to get a bit more confident on how much damage I can take. I do lose a bit of aggro as I'm trying to round everything up, but I managed to get everything back on me. Well, almost everything. Yeah, it's fine. The damage actually seems to be really good so far, so I'm happy with that. At least no one died. So when these spiders get on low health and they have those green circles around them, how do I deal with that? Do you just kite them until they die? So the first boss here in Arakara. So to start off, the boss will cast Alerting Shrill, which will do AoE damage to the group. After the cast, the boss will spawn adds from the eggs located in the room. These adds need to be killed as soon as possible. If any of them reach the boss will consume them, getting a buff which does more damage. When the boss starts channeling, it will spawn small swirlies below your feet. Keep on moving so the swirlies don't hit you. When the swirlies land, they'll turn into webs. If you go through them, they will slow your movement speed and deal you damage. Okay, that's the first boss defeated. Right, the second boss. he'll put a dot called Infestation on a random player. With Infestation on you, you'll start to take damage. When the duration reaches 0, you'll have a cyclone appear at your feet. Stay away from the cyclone, because if you enter it, deal damage to you. The boss will also burrow charge a random player going underground and charging towards that player, knocking them up and dealing damage. As soon as he goes underground, he will spawn an ad which will need to be killed and interrupted. After he has charged a player, he will use a frontal cone on that same player. You have to get out of that as soon as you can. His last ability is called Eye of the Swarm. He will run into a location in the room and make a circle. Stand in that circle as everywhere outside will be infested with bugs. You will slowly want to follow the circle around until he stops. And that's all you have to do on the second boss. That's the second boss dead. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. And obviously I died. So I thought this run was going too well and I thought we needed to spice things up a bit. Okay, time for the best boss in the dungeon. So you will see blood workers running around the boss arena. If you kill the blood workers, they will drop a purple puddle which you can use to root yourself in place when the boss sucks in. When the boss starts to cast Cosmic Singularity, run to a purple pool. That will root you in place. Once the boss has finished casting, you can stun or interrupt the blobs. And the last ability to look out for is Cultivated Poisons. The boss will put a debuff on every player where it shoots out 2 waves of green goo. You can either use a defensive or you can use a poison cleanse to remove the dot. That's the last boss defeated, and we also had to get a few more percentage. But we finally did it. We finally timed an Arakara, and we got 180 points. Unfortunately we got no loot, but nonetheless I'm still really happy we managed to complete Arakara finally. So as it's now Vault Day, I head to my vault to see if I can get any decent upgrades. So as you can see, there's quite a few good upgrades for me here. And I was stuck for quite some time trying to figure out what to get, either the helmet or the wrists. But in the end I ended up going for the tier helmet. Did I make the right choice? Please let me know. With my new helmet equipped, I went into another Mythic Plus. This one is a +3 mists. It's one of my favourites to be fair. So as we start off, we go to the left straight away. I don't think I've ever been in a group of mists which doesn't have someone who's able to open the shortcut. So God knows what would happen if we actually had to go around the long way. Is it just me, or does anyone else find it hard to interrupt when there's a load of mobs? I don't know, I must get overwhelmed. I think one of my main issues is I rely too much on tab targeting. I need to start using my mouse more and clicking on mobs individually. On to the first boss of this dungeon. So this is a half cleave, half single target fight. To start off with, everyone wants to focus the tree. Avoid the frontal that the tree casts. Avoid the swirlies on the floor, they will turn into puddles as well. The boss will cast a fear. If you have a shaman who can put down a tremor totem, or if you're a human, you can use your racial ability to get you out of the fear. And then once you've done enough damage to the tree, he'll become friendly, and this is your chance to do as much damage to the boss as you can. After a certain amount of time, the tree will re-enter the fight, and you attack the tree, and then rinse and repeat. That's the first boss taken care of. Now, I've said this place is one of my favourite dungeons. I really struggle on the maze part. I just can't work out what area you're supposed to take, which can be really frustrating. I normally just have to leave it to my group. And if I do sit there and try and work it out, I normally think, oh yeah, it's this one, and then no, it's not. But thankfully the priests in that group can either work it out really fast, or they've got some sort of add-on which tells them which way to go. Ha! That just goes to show that even add-ons get it wrong. Okay, so the second boss. The boss will place an arrow facing every player. As soon as the arrow appears, move out of the way. The boss will cast Catapult on the tank, and you have to interrupt that as soon as you can. The boss summons a fox who fixate on a random player. That player has to fight and CC the fox. If the fox catches you, it will extend you. And finally, the boss will clone itself multiple times, each clone around the ring. Each one will have a symbol above their head, the same as the maze. Work out which ones are different and kill it. If you kill the wrong one, it will do a massive alien fire damage. Alright, now it's time for my favourite pull in the entire dungeon.
Must get closer.
This pull can be quite challenging if enough interrupts don't go out. I did lose aggro a few times here, but luckily I managed to get them back. The interrupts are going really well on this pull. Although I did nearly die on this pull, the healer done an extremely good job of keeping me up. There's just so much going on. I'm so glad I got one of the easier affixes this week. I mean, all you got to do is kill the affix and we all get the buff. It's definitely one of the easier ones. What are your favourite and worst affixes to deal with? Let me know in the comments. So the last boss of the dungeon, they'll fire green swirlies on the floor which will turn into poles to avoid. It will spawn adds to be gathered up by the tank and AoE down. It will spawn bigger white swirlies to avoid. The boss will tether all players to the tank. The tank and the players have to get far away from each other as they can. At 70% and 40% health, the boss will run into the centre of the room. It gains a shield. It does much damage you can to get rid of the shield. When the shield's gone, you can interrupt the cast and then carry on as normal. That's the last boss dead, and that's Mists timed for a total of 194 points.
For you have a
And I actually got an item. Unfortunately I can't equip it as it's not very good for me, as I've already got a crafted 619 belt. After that last run and the key timed, I thought that was a good place to end this video. I really do hope you guys enjoyed watching my video to get from 0 to hero. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please hit subscribe, it will mean so much to me, and you'll also be notified when my next episode comes out. I'll see you guys in the next video.